So this Clockwork was like trying to go for the steal onto the Roshan. And he's like, I know where you are, buddy. First bolt hits. And now he's just gonna chase him down with his 445 movement speed. Jesus, he's just casting bolts in the fog. Like, using them on the floor. He just killed the clock like that. With this build, his Thunder God's Wrath is dealing 628 damage to every hero on the map. If you like our content, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the notification button below so you will be notified when a new video will be released. Alright, so we got a Topson Zeus game this time around. This man is a big innovator of this hero. He has so many different ways that he's played this hero throughout the years. Very popular, especially for his TI-8 performance on this hero. Like you see here, level 1, he actually starts with a null talisman. This is not like a regular build people go. He got 1 null, 1 branch, and the reason for the null is he just wants that casual mana regen right away. Spell Lamp is also nice. He goes for the Arc Lightning, level 1 here too. And he's got queued up some Tangles and some more null talisman bottles. So lane starts, level 1. He's got the Arc Lightning ready to get the last hits. And you can see he actually aggroed the creeps to get the creep wave to this range creep. So he can play for this range and he can always Arc Lightning that range creep as well. This Leshrac sees Topson walking up the hill. Misses the stun unfortunately, so not able to get that huge damage output onto him. And he tried to get 2 creeps at the same time, failed to get one of them, but that's okay. He didn't get the creep denied, and that's what he's actually looking for here. First item, obviously gain that regen. The Tangles. He didn't want to go healing self. He wants to just constantly be able to tango on up here. And level 2 he gets a static field. So the trend nowadays is to actually skill up Arc Lightning and your static field a little bit before you get your Lightning Bolt, because Lightning Bolt, they nerfed this spell, making it cost from 90 mana to 125 on level 1, so it's a very inefficient usage of your mana, where Arc Lightning you can always secure last hits while also harassing your opponent, which is the perfect spell. And at this point, he's just always, you know, playing for the farm on the early levels, constantly pulling the creeps onto the range, trying to get the denies if he can. Zeus, like, don't underestimate this guy's base damage. Just 71 base damage right now, level 2 versus Leshrac's 59 only. So you can actually outlast it, range heroes. Either get the last hit or the denies. So you don't have to only rely on the Arc Lightning. Arc Lightning, you want to use it when you have no range to go for the last hit, or your opponent is going to deal too much damage to you because you're going to put yourself out of position to cast the Arc Lightning. And that's exactly what Topson is doing, right? Whenever he can get the last hits with his auto attacks, he's always going to commit his auto attacks to get the last hits, even if the opponent is kind of contesting him on the last hit here. And just like that, he's got 3 denies against the Lash. Previously, Zeus was not able to do this, but you know, as of recent times, he got buffed up quite a bit on his physical damage. And that range creep, he can't get there because he's going to put himself out of position, so he just uses the Arc Lightning to kill that creep. And now he's got level 2 static field, which is only a 2% health reduction, but he likes it because he doesn't want to get that lightning bolt early on to the game. It just costs way too much damage. And because of this build, the 2 null talisman and the mana regen that it provides is very useful, because if you look here, he's got a huge mana pool. He's got so many potential Arc Lightnings available. And now he's going to go for the bottom. And because he can pretty much essentially guarantee these last hits with that Arc Lightning or his high damage, that bottle is going to be quite easy to get to. Unfortunately, right now for him, he's still missing another 100 gold before his bottle, and the bottle does not come out by 6 minutes. That being said, if he got like 2 more last hits, he would have got his bottle. Could have been really epic. But in your games, if you want, what you can do is, instead of completing the second null, you can just buy like a circlet plus, you know, a mantle, and then finish your bottle that way. So you save yourself 200 gold towards your bottle. That way you have your bottle for 4 minutes, and you can just bottle up instantly while getting a lot of resources. And the Leshrac actually bottles up a regen. It was very sad for him. What if Topson was the one who had a bottle and bottled up the regen bottom? Oh man, that would have been absolutely disgusting in this kind of game. Especially laning I mean, regen is such an amazing item for Zeus because not only can you just spam out the mid, you can also start jungling and you can like stack up a camp and just keep on arc lining a camp down. So now he's got a bottle, he puts his nulls down, picks them back up while he's bottling, takes a rune at 5 minutes instead. So even though the 4-minute power rune was not available to him, as long as you get your bottle before 5 minutes, you're still going to get that bounty rune to refill your bottle. And he's going to get some clarities too. And you can see here at this point, I'm just going to go back and show you his player perspective. Once he does have his ultimate ready, he's constantly looking around the map to see if there's any potential plays, especially when the opponent on the minimap is like kind of near the towers or diving towers. So he looks top, he sees that Timber is getting quite low. They use the lance and boom, here comes the ultimate just clearing him. And you can see this is his player perspective. As soon as he gets 6 and the lane is already shoved out, he's looking around to see if anybody's kind of low, seeing the situation and what's going on. Now he gets the 2 wards, he plants a ward on the right side, watching the power rune. He wants to really push his lane out so he can just go get that rune right away. He uses the arc lightning on the enemy hero, so he guarantees a hit on the enemy hero here. He's gonna get this creep too. He's gonna go top rune. He sees on the minimap the rune is on bottom, so now he gets that bottle refill and he buys 3 nulls. So with his 3 nulls, he's getting 9% spell amplification. So this arc lightning is doing a lot of damage also to the creep wave and heroes. So if you want to see, you can always push alt to see how much more damage your spell is doing. So you can see here, his ulti is going from 300 to 327 damage, and his arc lightning is going from 150 to 163 damage at the moment. And he's even able to just 2-shot these creeps in the jungle, the small camp, because of how much spell amp that he actually has. Gonna go into the jungle, gonna just quick stack up this camp as well. At this point with this kind of build, it's not really like a super fighting build. It's more like, you know, spam, poke your opponent out of the lane and just try to jungle up and get more XP, because you're still gonna need that max lightning bolt later in the game to be able to actually burst heroes down, right? At this stage in the game, he's just building up with this scale build so that he can scale better. He can get more farm, he can hit that late game much quicker in the game. Because if you go for the lightning bolt max build, then you're very reliant on having a lot of impact by killing people, because you don't have that huge farming tool with your max arc lightning. But with your max arc lightning plus the triple nulls, you can farm a lot faster in the jungle while using less mana. So you can farm more. So just like that, you're just able to clear that camp super easily. Didn't even need to use a whole lot of mana. Not a problem. There he gets killed up by the last shark. Quite unfortunate, but what happens sometimes as a Zeus. Because, you know, you're quite slow in the early game especially. And your arc lightning, like, do not underestimate how much damage this skill does. It's a 1.6 second cooldown and it's dealing 163 damage every time you drop it on somebody. So if you use the spell like 3 times within the cooldown of 1 lightning bolt, you're actually doing way more damage. And just constantly clearing the mid wave, going into the jungle, farming out the jungle camps too. Here he gets found by the Bane again, but just gonna be able to run back into the tower, get healed up by his ally, and he sees a regen bottom. Oh, delicious, delicious regen. Absolutely delicious. Feels so good. And you can see here, he's actually building up into a Kaya first. He wants even more spell amplification. And you can just see here, like, he just uses like 2 arc lightnings, which kills the range creep instantly. And then on the 3rd arc lightning, it kills all the melee creeps. And with the triple nulls, you're able to do that quite easily throughout the entire game. And here top, there's a Doom available. Just gets a kill onto the Timber. And he's just spamming his arc lightning in these fights, right? So 4 levels in the arc lightning, 2 in static field, and then starts to skill up the lightning bolt already. Because at this stage, you're getting closer to the mid game area, and you're gonna want to get that max lightning bolt up so you can enter team fights and do a lot of damage to your opponent. And now he's got a Kaya, and you can see he's constantly bringing out clarities because you just want to keep on farming. The most important thing for Zeus is experience, right? The higher your levels are, your damage just keeps growing. You can see his positioning, just kind of like playing in the back of his allies, casting his spells, dropping his ulti, seeing who's in the engagement or who's coming to help this last track, while also securing the last hit. And he sees a rune top, he wants to go straight to that. I'm gonna go to his player perspective here. He goes, grabs the rune, pops the arcane rune. While he's balling, he drops all his items into his backpack, so he has a smaller mana pool. And when he gets his items back, he'll have more mana because of it. And he just never stops farming on the Zero. Like, if the engagements come to him, that's fine. He's gonna turn around, he's gonna cast spells. If the opponent is overly aggressive, he's gonna TP, he's gonna take the fights. If nothing happens, then he's just gonna be focused on farming. Because you just need to keep on leveling up non-stop. We could check the levels right now. The only person who's even close to him is actually the CK on the opponent team. A very high level Zeus at this stage in the game. He doesn't have his ulti, so he's not going to go bottom. It's going to be a big waste of time for him at the moment. He's just going to keep on shoving the lanes out and farming up. He's got an arcane boost now, so more mana. And he's actually going for a Bloodstone. Topson very focused on having more HP and... Wow, that was really quick in how he can go through his items in his backpack. So he wants more HP, more resources, infinite mana essentially, so he can constantly just farm up all the jungle camps and push out lanes quickly. So a lot of players go for Aether Lance, which is a pretty good item if you're just looking for the short-term gains and be able to win fights right away. If in your region people are much more focused on fighting, then Aether Lance would be a good idea. But if your goal is to like scale into the mid and late game, then you don't need to go for that Aether Lance right away. The same way like Topson is doing at the moment. But again, Topson very well versed in Zeus. He's practiced a lot of these different builds. If you're a beginner Zeus player, I would recommend like you go for this Aether Lance build. I think it's a lot better in terms of your positioning and how you can have impact in the team fights without your opponent actually being able to catch you. Because you're gonna be casting from a really far range. So you can see in this last engagement, he never committed into the team fight. He was just kind of sticking around and seeing if his opponent actually hard committed to his allies, and that's the time he would actually go into the fight and start casting spells. If his opponent did not commit, then he's just gonna be content with going back and farming up and getting his items. So now he's got his Bloodstone completed. He's extremely happy. He sees the opponent pushing bottom. He TPs in. He's got a Bloodstone. So if they actually start the fight onto him, he can just click that Bloodstone and gonna get healed up, right? But because his team is also all there, ready to fight, he's able to just play around his allies and dish out all of this magic damage. Go to net worth and look at that. He's at the top of the charts. How often do you see Zeus being at the top of the charts? And this is what this skill build and playstyle actually does. It allows you to farm more, essentially, while still having impact. Because if your allies are getting dove or your opponent is putting themselves out of position or low HP, you are going to be ready to help them regardless. And we never saw Topson actually go back to base to have to heal or anything, because he's constantly refilling his bottle and buying a lot of clarities in the game to keep his mana pool healthy so he can still fight. So here he sees his allies getting gone on. He's just gonna play on the outside of the fight. The Leshrac sees him, so they're actually committing onto the Zeus, and he's gonna get his essence ring off. And if they actually committed onto Topson, Topson would have just popped his Bloodstone. And in the fight, you can see he's just going for the low HP targets, just casting spells. And at this stage, he doesn't mind being in the middle of the fight because it's only 18 minutes in, and the opponent just doesn't have the damage to be able to deal with him. Deal with this high HP pool that he has.
Middle tower is under attack.
And just casts spells, weaves in and out of the fights. Pops a Bloodstone now because he's out of the cogs. Heals up a lot, but this might be... Oh, it's so close. He's actually gonna live. He's getting blocked up by the illusions. Like, bro, your illusions are blocking me. Get away. And now he's got boots of travel, so he's super fast too. So he's super fast with high HP, and he can just move in and out of the fight. The way that I see Zeus is a lot like Bat Rider. You know, once you get boots of travels, you're just insanely faster. It's very hard for your opponent to actually catch you. And he's gonna go for an Octarine core next item. Like, you got the Bloodstone, and then you got the Octarine core combination, which is really, really nice. I always thought these two spells worked quite well together. And on top of that, Octarine core actually gives you some magic resistance, which is going to be really great against the Leshrac. Here he actually got a little bit out of position, played into the enemy vision too much here. The CK just jumped on him. He should have been playing obviously on the right side. So let's see what he does once he is alive. Goes middle, just keeps his mid lane pushed out constantly. Oh, and that's the other thing about Zeus, is that it's so hard for the opponent to try and kill your mid tower because you're constantly outlightning the waves before they even get to your tower. So if your opponent is not diving you with like 4 or 5 heroes like around your tower, you're not gonna lose your mid tower. You can see at 22 minutes in, this mid tower barely took any damage, although the opponent has a Leshrac on their side. So the Octarine core plus the Bloodstone with the spell lifesteal amplification is going to be really nice. So the Octarine core is going to heal him for so much with that extra spell life amplification from the Bloodstone as well. You can see in this fight, he just kind of stayed in the outskirts again. Like, his teammates dove a little bit too deep in there, and he's like, alright guys, I'm just out of here. He's okay doing that too, because he knows he's going to scale extremely hard in this game as long as he keeps on farming and pushes the lane out. But first, he always saw if there's an opportunity to take the fights, and then once the fight is over, he just got out. He TP bottom, started shoving his lane out, and his opponents don't even have a chance to just be able to go out on the map and take any objectives at this stage in the game. Sees a rune, takes that, almost got that Octarine. It's freaking 24 minutes in, he almost has Bloodstone, Octarine, and Boots of Travels, which is insane for any hero, to be honest, to have this much farm. And every time he sees creeps, he's just arc lightning them. It's like not even a problem for him. He's got such a big mana pool and mana regen thanks to the Bloodstone. Octarine is now ready, so he's gonna be lifestealing a lot from these spells. And on top of that, he also has a Bloodstone active, so he's extremely tanky actually at this stage in the game. The CK even bought a Shadow Blade to be able to catch the Zeus. Kinda like it by the CK. This is what you actually have to do against annoying Zeus gamers like this. His Arc Lightning pops because bottles can only hold the rune for 2 minutes. A lot of players also like to go like Aghanims into Nimbus, which is quite nice, but obviously it's not a build that lets you farm a lot quicker than this build would, and it looks like he really doesn't have any intentions of actually buying the Aghanims in this game. This is a very different kind of playstyle with the Zeus, a little bit more difficult to execute. You have to be very experienced Zeus player, but if you you can go for this build. If you're not, I would highly recommend the Aether Lens plus the Nimbus build. I think that will give you more impact in the team fights, and you will probably get flamed a lot less in your games, because if somebody sees you go this build on a Zeus, if you're not Topson, you're probably gonna get flamed quite a bit. And the way I see this build and the way that Topson's playing is he's just so tanky. And he doesn't mind if he gets jumped because he can always pop this Bloodstone and it's going to heal up so much HP. Thanks to the Octarine and the Bloodstone combination effect. While still dishing out a hell of a lot of damage. I can't believe he actually killed his Clockwork like that. So this Clockwork was like trying to go for the steal onto the Roshan. And he's like, I know where you are, buddy. First bolt hits. And now he's just gonna chase him down with his 445 movement speed. Jesus, he's just casting bolts in the fog, like using them on the floor. He just killed the clock like that. With this build, his Thunder God's Wrath is dealing 628 damage to every hero on the map. It's just absolutely incredible. His bolt is dealing 440 damage on a 6-second cooldown. Or 5-second cooldown actually. 4-second cooldown. Sorry, he went for the cooldown talent on level 20 as well. 12% cooldown reduction plus the Octarine.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Crazy good. That's the word. Just play with your allies, let them go in. They're very tanky. And as soon as the CK showed up, he just clicks the Bloodstone on himself and the CK can't do anything. And he's going for a Shiva, so he's much more tanky against physical damage, and also the Shivas will help kill all the CK illusions as well in this game. He's just adapting to the heroes that the opponent have as well. Alright, so in this game, what did we learn from Topson? He didn't make a whole lot of rotations. This game, he was much more focused on farming because he knows his hero is about scaling into the mid game. And he made sure that this mid tower never died. Look at this tower. 1000 HP still 30 minutes into the game against a Leshrac Clockwork, right? These are heroes that can get on top of Zeus. These are heroes that can kill Zeus. But the way he played is he constantly kept the mid lane pushed out and he just kept on jungling around this area while constantly chugging clarities so that he has enough mana pool to be able to help his allies if he needs to. That being said, his main priority was to make sure that the mid lane was always pushed out so that mid tower never died. And when his teammates were getting gone on, or their opponents were trying to go for the other towers, he went to like the outskirts of the fight. He chilled a bit. He saw what the situation in the fight was. If it was a good fight, he committed. If it was a bad fight, he just abandoned his team, went back to pushing the mid lane out or pushing another lane somewhere else out so that they could play for a better fight down the road. Because Zeus is a hero who scales extremely well in the game and scales very well with the items as well. So Bloodstone Octarine in this game was great because he just gave no opportunities for the opponent to be able to actually kill him. That being said, this is not the norm. Like, this is not a normal build for Zeus. I would say a normal build would look more like Aether Lens and Nimbus. So you get that, you can stay on outskirts of the fight, but also be able to, stay really far back and dish out a lot of damage. This game, he was snowballing really well, and he felt like as long as he doesn't die in the engagements, he's going to be dishing out a bunch of damage. Boots of Travel's amazing item on Zeus too, so that you can constantly move around the map and be very fast in the engagements too. And look at his net worth in this game. It was insane. Like, just his playstyle. He had like 100 something last hits at 10 minutes already. Just because he's just constantly pushing lanes out. And this max arc lightning build is so good. And his positioning in the teamfights, again, that's probably Topson's biggest strength, is how he positions himself in fights. Like, his team fighting capabilities is just on a whole nother level.